have a 1947 Chevrolet Loadmaster truck. Collision Class is going to do an exterior and interior restoration on the vehicle. Now, the nice thing is this truck's in pretty good shape. We don't have a ton of body work to do. It's fairly rust-free. The dents are to a minimal, so hopefully it'll be a quick process. We do have to strip the vehicle first. We need to disassemble it, take all the lights off, the mirrors off, the hood off, the panels off, the doors off, the fenders off, door glass out, the handles out, all the stuff on the exterior. Once we get that completed, then we can go ahead and start the stripping process. This is an old lacquer paint job, and we really can't put any new type of materials over top of this. We'll have nothing but problems. So we need to strip this down to bare metal. We'll go ahead and put an epoxy-based primer on there. We'll sand that primer out, reprime it, reblock it, and then we'll be able to go into the refinishing stage.
There's a lot of truck here, and so that's a lot of surface area to sand down, a lot of surface area to prime, and a lot of things to fix. We've got to replace a ton of parts because of a truck this old. Everything's got to be replaced.
Working on still getting the fenders off, which means we got to unloosen the radiator support and then rest of the bolts on the fenders, and then we'll be able to take that all off, and then we'll be down to nothing but the cab lift on and the motor.
Stuck on the rust right here.
Okay, so now we can push this out. Vinny, hold this with your hands. I'm gonna try to drive this pin down. Is it coming? Yep. Keep holding it. Beautiful. A truck that is from 1947 is pretty rusty, and so what happens is old parts fuse themselves together. So what we had to do is put some lubricant on there to try to eat the rust away, and then try to drive this door handle out of the lock mechanism. It was pretty time consuming, but we were able to break it loose without breaking anything, which is always a good thing. So a little patience pays off.
This will be a whole new truck when we're done. I'm thinking it's gonna run like new, and that's what we're hoping for.
This is all that we got done today on the truck, and we'll be back at it tomorrow.
Part of the restoration process of this old 1947 Chevy truck is disassembling the parts and then sanding them. Here we're removing the running lights on the top here, the cab lights, so that the kids can begin the refinishing process of the cab. So we try to get all the parts that are going to be in the way of that process. And with this many parts, it's imperative that we keep them organized so they have separate containers for different areas of the truck. Working as a team to remove this door. He's taken out the last hinge bolts, and then they'll lift it up and set it on that stand so we can analyze it for future repairs. So in this business, labeling is everything. There's just hundreds and hundreds of parts. I would even say take it so much as to even label your students, just so that you don't lose track of them, okay?
We're trying to get the grill off right now, so we had to melt the bolts right there because they weren't coming out. They were all rusted in there and stuck, so we had to heat them up and get them unstuck. End goal is to put everything back on and then paint it some kind of green.
Watch out for the spiders.
The toughest thing was taking the door off. That thing was rusted on pretty good, and we had to use a lot of ways that we normally wouldn't.
Let's try it again.
We had to be pretty forceful with it, and it might be a little bit damaged, so we're probably gonna have to fix that tomorrow.
Right now we are working on a 47 Chevy farm truck, and we're going to be painting it a forest green afterwards.
What we're doing here is spreading airplane stripper on this old 1947 Chevy truck fender.
You need gloves because if not, it's going to burn. Get your brush, you just paint it on there like this. It's basically a paint remover, and that takes about 15 minutes to dry. If it touches your skin, it burns really bad, like an icy hot kind of burn.
Very tedious process. The students wear gloves and respirator because of the fumes that come off of it.
Basically what it does is it strips the paint down.
So we can refinish it. So they'll let that sit for a while and it'll agitate the paint and then they can scrape it off.
It starts to come off like this. Now you can either use a razor blade or just a scraper to scrape it off. And then to some of it that's already been put on there, it comes off like this. Basically it chips off. This is without the adhesive, so they just took a razor blade. This is with the adhesive and the razor blade. This takes everything off, the primer and the clear coat and the actual base coat. It comes right off and goes down to bare metal. So after this is all dried off, this will turn orange and then you'll be able to take the primer off. After this, we have to sand it down some more. We have to Scotch Brite it with either gray Scotch Brite or red Scotch Brite. And then we get it all buffed up and then we get it into the paint booth and we get ready to prime.
We tend to do a ton of customer work in here. This is a larger scaled project for us. It'll be a nice job when it's all done, but when these kids leave these doors, they'll see a lot of stuff. A lot of shops do restorations. It's a great overall process for them to figure out body work, metal work, the painting process, pretty much from scratch all the way to end product.
The more work you put into this, the more pride you get out of it, because it takes a lot of elbow grease to get stuff like this actually rolling and getting it into the paint booth, stripping the paint off. So the more work it takes, the better you feel afterwards.
My neighbor told me about it and asked me if I wanted to go see it. It was going to go up for sale, but the lady who had it said that she would sell it before the auction. I went expecting to find a rusted out piece of junk because it's Michigan and it was in great shape. Well, here we are. And why I came here? Because of my wife, who is the counselor in Morenci, and she told me, why don't you go see Courtney Thune? Because I could. The kids working on it were great. Brushing on POR 15, which if it gets on you, you own it for 3 weeks. Watching it get all taken apart. And then I was the parts runner for bolts and nuts and paint. It had 2 coats of red on it over the years. Guys did an amazing amount of work on this to bring it to where it is. I love the color. That's what it originally should look like. Courtney said there was one of 3 greens. Like my son said, what are you gonna do with it, Dad? So I guess it's going to shows. My bucket truck's name is Pearl, but this truck deserves a name. So eventually it'll get a name. Tons of thanks for everybody here for all the work that you did on this. I can't say enough about that. Thank you.